Ben Askren facepalms Jake Paul at press conference. Before we start, I would want you to hit that red subscribe button so you never miss out on any of our videos. Things turned ugly between YouTuber Jake Paul and MMA fighter Ben Askren at a dramatic press conference on Friday. Ahead of their boxing match on April 17th, the pair stepped up to the mind games and got right under each other's skin. Askren fought 3 times in the UFC before announcing his retirement from the MMA, defeating Robbie Lawler in controversial circumstances, and then losing to Jorge Masvidal and Demian Maia. Paul has a professional boxing record of 2-0, but has yet to face anyone with real fighting pedigree, brutally defeating NBA star Nate Robinson in his last session. The 24-year-old video called UFC star Masvidal, who famously knocked Askren out in 5 seconds at UFC 239, and ridiculed his former rival. Masvidal, who has teamed up with Paul for the fight, said, "That dude's still alive? Tell him I like his flip-flops, man." When the talking was over, Askren faced off with Paul and ended up facepalming him, which led to a flurry of pushes and shoves from the YouTuber as things boiled over. In a video of the event, Askren is heard telling Paul, "Look at all your cheerleaders, man. It's so embarrassing," before putting his hand in Paul's face, and Paul retaliating by aiming a body shot at his rival and shoving them in the back. Earlier in the press conference, Askren teased Paul about living in the shadow of his brother, fellow YouTuber turned boxer Logan, who is set to face Floyd Mayweather in a delayed exhibition bout. They were supposed to be separated by plexiglass per COVID-19 protocols, but Jake Paul wasn't having any of that when it came time to face off with Ben Askren at the Thriller press conference. Paul could have decked the UFC veteran right there, but settled for a shove with his opponent's back turned. The build-up for the fight between YouTuber Jake Paul and former MMA star Ben Askren has taken off after the pair squared off for the first time ahead of their exhibition bout. Paul continued his chat in the press conference as he often interrupted Askren with his antics, but the action really kicked up at the stare-down. The controversial YouTuber has been talking a big game ahead of his boxing match with Askren, a 36-year-old former wrestling champion and UFC fighter, and has even tempted UFC boss Dana White to make $1 million bet on the encounter. That was somewhat warm ending to a press conference filled with bravado and insults as the headliners of the April 17th promoted the event at Mercedes-Benz Stadiums in Atlanta. Askren hardly took the bait offered by the amped-up Paul and slipped in one-liner as his younger opponent tagged in Jorge Masvidal for some extra jabs. Paul got right in Askren's face and talked trash, which he'd done almost without interruption since walking on the To The Close set in Sin City. When he turned to face cameras, however, Askren kept staring and then facepalmed him and walked away. Instead of standing behind the COVID-19 glass wall to avoid close contact, Paul goaded Askren to come face to face with them. Askren eventually obliged and approached Paul. But after Paul and his team continued to stir Askren up, the unflappable fighter turned away and facepalmed the YouTuber. Paul reacted with what looked like an odd slap to Askren's side as he walked away. He then pushed Askren, who hadn't flinched, before officials stepped in between. Askren's facepalm and calm nature had many claimed the former UFC fighter had clearly rattled Paul. Many also labeled the whole encounter embarrassing. Former UFC light heavyweight and heavyweight champion Daniel Cormier weighed in on the encounter after the stare-down. Cormier said after watching both Askren's and Paul's demeanor, he was sure the former UFC fighter would come out victorious. Askren retired from MMA in 2019. He was a former Bellator and one welterweight champion. Paul's last fight was against NBA star Nate Robinson, which ended in the YouTuber knocking him out. The pair will face off in the boxing ring on April 17th. That's all for today. I hope you liked the video, and if you did, make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to the channel so that you never miss an amazing video from us.